For me, thinking back, and now knowing the job and seeing all the other females, I feel like it's just one of those things that it's a natural career choice for us.
When we're talking with victims, especially, if it's a female victim, they a lot of the times are very comfortable talking to a woman officer.
But the thing that keeps us going all the time is those great moments that you hang on to for your entire career and work every day to get back to that feeling.
For me, it's as cheesy as just being able to help people. I love being the voice for the victims and everyone who are on their worst days, to be able to help them work through the process.
Hi, welcome to another edition of the Wausau Police Department podcast. Today, we are looking at women in law enforcement. I'm Melinda Pauls. I'm the patrol captain here at the police department, and today with me is Detective Lieutenant Jen Holtz and Officer Mallori Buchkoski. You want to tell everybody a little bit about you and your career here at the Wausau PD?
Sure. I started in 2001. I was 21 years old. I worked in patrol for 5 years, and then after that, I went into the Special Investigations Unit, which is our drug unit, for 5 years. I came out of that into the Detective Bureau for 10 years, and at that point, I was promoted to lieutenant, so I went back onto patrol for a couple years in that role, and then I laterally transferred back over to the Detective Bureau at the beginning of this year.
You've done it all.
Yes.
You have.
But I'm right where I want to be.
Nice.
So.
Mallori.
And I'm Mallori. I got hired in 2016, and I've been on patrol ever since. And I'm a FTO, a field training officer. I'm part of the mentor program, the sexual assault response team, the domestic abuse response team, and I think that's all of them. But I really enjoy the road. I'm not ready to go off the road yet, and just going to enjoy that while I'm still young and can do it too. But that's fine.
All right. Well, I'm Melinda Pauls, again, patrol captain. I started in 2002, again, as a patrol officer, where everybody does. I was right there with you. I enjoyed every aspect of being a patrol officer, FTO and all the special teams. I was on patrol, I think my entire 12 years on patrol was night shift, which I just loved. I left there for a community resource unit for a couple years, and then was promoted to a patrol officer or a patrol lieutenant. All of our lieutenants usually start in patrol, so again, started there for a little bit, went to our community resource as a lieutenant, and then admin captain, and now patrol captain as of late last year. So now that everybody kind of knows who we are, it's kind of exciting to talk about women in law enforcement, right? It's not like you think back hundreds of years. It wasn't natural for women to be in this career. I think in the last 100 years or so, it's becoming more popular, but you still don't see quite the numbers of female officers as you do male officers. So I think we have a unique perspective and things to talk about, and maybe encourage, younger females to look at this as a profession. So I guess maybe I'll start with a couple of questions to you guys, some hard questions, like, as a female law enforcement officer, there's things that we encounter and things that sometimes I think we look at differently than male officers too. So I guess most importantly, like on a daily basis, what's your facial regime look like in your cuticle care? Oh, that's not the most important thing. All right. So, no, really, honestly, I think women in law enforcement have come a long way. Mm-hmm. For me, thinking back, and now knowing the job and seeing all the other females, I feel like it's just one of those things that it's a natural career choice for us because we're good at multitasking and just, being like, I don't want to say that motherly figure, but controlling a situation, kind of knowing what to do. And for me, it was very natural for that in this career. What are your thoughts on that? Or why did you even start in this career, first of all? How did you get here?
Well, when I was in high school, going through a bit of a rough patch. I took a career aptitude test towards the end of my senior year because I didn't know what I wanted to go to school for. And I got a result through Wausau West High School that suggested law enforcement as a career, something about the questions that I answered.
Wait, you are a West graduate?
Yes.
Oh.
Sorry.
SPASH graduate here.
Oh, yeah.
Not from around here. So.
So I learned quickly that some of my character traits would go well with being a police officer. And I thought about it and I was like, hey, yeah, that actually sounds like a really cool job. I could do that. Let's try. Let's see what happens. So I ended up going to school for sociology. Started here for 2 years at the UW, Marathon County it was at that time. And then I transferred to Stevens Point, again, for that sociology degree. And I think it was because I had taken that career aptitude test that led me down that path. I got a letter from the Wausau Police Department, or the city of Wausau, inviting me to apply in 2001, which was actually the summer between my junior and senior year in college. So I thought, why not? I'll try it just to see what the process will look like when I graduate, kind of thing. Took the test, and here I am. Luckily, the test was given out the day before my 21st birthday. Otherwise, I might not be sitting here right now if it was the day after.
Yeah.
So the rest is history, and I kind of just fell into it, and the city ended up sending me to recruit school. So I had been taking 4-year classes up until that point, and then I started at recruit school, which was a bit of an eye-opener. You know, recruit school is much more of a hands-on learning environment where you're shooting the guns, you're driving the cars, you're wrestling with people, you're learning to fight. So that was definitely, okay, wow, a little more of a clear perspective of, okay, this is what my job is going to be. Can I handle this? Can I do this? So I did, and here I am.
Nice.
23 years later.
23 years ago, how many females were in your recruit class?
There were a couple. I think it was just me and another gal, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. But it was primarily men. And it was, I think there was probably about 20 of us. So, I mean, we got the locker room to ourselves, so that was nice.
I'm not going to lie, one of the best things about law enforcement and law enforcement training is there's never a line at the female bathrooms.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
That's true. Some
Everywhere
perks
else you
there.
go, there's always a line at the females, not at law enforcement training.
Yep. Yep.
We got that advantage.
Yeah.
We do.
It's one thing going for us.
So, Mallory, I guess same question to you maybe. Like, how did you get yourself to thinking about career in law enforcement?
Well, like I said, I touched just earlier that I graduated from SPASH. One of my friends in high school, her dad worked for the Stevens Point Police Department, and I did a ride-along one time in my senior year because I didn't really know what I wanted, and I loved it. I'm like, all right, this is fun. We went lights and sirens with some calls, and I heard about the program at Mid-State Technical College. It's a 2-year program that they did the certification track in the 2 years, so I was certifiable. And then I started applying everywhere because I was really excited to have a job, and I went through the process here and got hired, and here I am 8 years later.
Well, we're glad you came here.
Yes, me too.
Yes.
Me too.
How about you, Melinda? How did you get to where you are today?
I actually had never thought about law enforcement. Initially, graduating high school, I went to school for, I thought, med school. So I got a medical microbiology degree in the thoughts of going to med school and realized I did not like school that much and did not want to be there for longer than 4 years. Mm-hmm. So I came out of a 4-year college not still knowing what I wanted to do. I became a sales rep for medical supplies, and in the meantime had become an EMT and started on my local volunteer fire department. And I would go to calls, and we'd get done with the call, the EMT med stuff, and I'd sit around and talk to the officers that responded. I was from a smaller town where officers went to every EMS call, and started talking to them, and I'm like, hey, it sounds like a great career. Like, it sounds like, they were doing very similar things, going to the EMS calls. I'm like, I kind of have that knowledge already. What else do I need to do this? And that's kind of, not so much a ride along, but just kind of seeing it.
Right.
Was like, oh, that's really cool. So I actually was down in the Milwaukee area and went through the academy on my own and then started applying and ended up here, which was great because I love the area for skiing and hiking and, being outside. So I purposely wanted to come up this way. So 23 years ago, moved up here and have loved it ever since. So that is how I ended up here.
Was this the furthest north you applied, or?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And honestly, I think a lot of it had to do with just the ski hill. I loved skiing at the time. I was on ski patrol at a ski hill down where I was from. And, this was a great area.
Yeah.
You can't go wrong. Summer, winter, do stuff outside.
Get it all.
Got it all, yeah. So women in law enforcement, like when you guys think about us and maybe our counterparts, trainings, we attend all the same training. Have you ever been to more specific law enforcement for women type training? And do you think it's beneficial? Do you think we need more of it? What are some of your thoughts on that? I ask that because in September of this year, we have somebody coming to do a training locally that really focuses on just women in law enforcement and some of the things that we see. So I'm excited to hear what some of our thoughts are going into that and see what the training is all about. What have you guys seen or gone to yourselves?
I have not ever gone to any specific women in policing training. A lot of the things that I've gone to more recently are involving like social workers, like the drug endangered children training. So that definitely has more of a female population, but nothing specifically for women.
I went to the Wisconsin Association of Women Police conference a couple different times, and it's a really cool conference that's put together every year. It's open to men as well to come. The last few years I've noticed that there have been some men that have came there, but it's around women and just, all of the stories of how they came about in their departments, of especially like the smaller towns that maybe have one female officer, and them just kind of working through everything there. And it's just really cool to see everybody from all over Wisconsin, from all the different departments, from Milwaukee to Wausau to way out in the smaller departments, just come together and support everybody.
So a lot of what we do, involves physical type activity. Our DAT training, defense and arrest tactics. Have you ever felt that we needed more training as females, or some kind of different training to protect ourselves or to feel safe on the job? Because that's a question that comes up a lot, is like, we're not very big. Like, you don't have to be 6'3" to do this job, right?
Right.
And it's not always about physically being able to overcome someone.
Right.
And I think we all recognize that doing what we've done for the last several years. But we have a lot of tools available to us, and we need to learn to be able to rely on those tools. And that's part of the training that we utilize regularly, and we should continue to. So if we're not able to physically restrain somebody, then we can use other means and methods.
Right.
And luckily, we're a small enough agency or a small enough in proximity city that our backup is never very far away if we do need that physical help.
Yeah, it is nice for that, especially that we won't be alone for long if we are first on scene, and even just learning to, use our verbal skills too with people. I mean, if there are scenarios where people do listen to women a little better, and I think that works to our benefit, responding to them.
That mom voice, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some people react
They do.
better to that.
100%. And that's exactly what my train of thought was when I asked that question, and what, to go to your point, Mel. I think women have a easy time talking to people. I think it just comes naturally for many of us. not even just, victims and children, but even suspects. And maybe it is the mom voice, right? Everybody, for the most part, usually has a mom or a grandma or that motherly figure where they listen to.
Right.
When mom's voice raises, you're in trouble. So,
Somebody
sometimes we do use that to our advantage here.
It did. It worked for me yesterday on a call.
Yeah.
So
Somebody in their life that they respect, that they relate that to.
Absolutely.
As long as you have that, I think you're in good shape.
So have you guys ever, we're gonna talk stories now. Any stories that you think back and for a fact, like being a female really helped in that situation? Can you think of?
I mean, I've had quite a few of when we're talking with victims, especially if it's a female victim, they're gonna, they a lot of the times are very comfortable talking to a woman officer. It makes them more comfortable to talk with us. Whereas I think if in certain scenarios, if a male officer got there, maybe they wouldn't be as comfortable to open up about stuff. But I think that helps us in our benefit of that.
Yeah, I think when you're talking to suspects too, sometimes to create a level playing field, like I'm just thinking of one particular interview I did with a female suspect where there was a child involved, and kind of just trying to relate to her as a mother and bringing that up as a theme during the interview seemed to be beneficial and get the end result that we were looking for. So, yeah, I definitely think you're more relatable to women sometimes and sometimes men too.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, and as much as we say that, sometimes I feel like people do connect with females. I've had others that don't.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you got to get a male officer there. So, it's always nice to have both.
Yes.
We've had a couple shifts throughout the years that there's no females or one female, and it seems like those are the times that you're like, oh, man, it would be nice to have more of a mix, so you have that. But, it goes both ways. You're right. So I would love for every little girl growing up to think, hey, that's a really cool job. I can do that. Mm-hmm. As a younger female officer, first being hired, coming out of the academy, because you learn stuff in school, right? You learn stuff in the academy, but it's not quite the on-the-job learning that you need yet, right? So we all go through training when we first get hired. What do you think as a female going through training, as a young officer, because we were all in our 20s when we got hired, some of us younger than others, but what are some of the things that you thought about and helped you in training that might, inspire younger females right now who are in high school thinking about where they want to go? I think all of us said, we're not quite sure what we want to do in high school, and I think that's true of most people, but especially, high school females that, hey, I can do that. If these girls are doing it, I can do it too. What are some of your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think when I came out of recruit school, I was pretty naive, very, very naive to this profession. So you learn a lot about yourself and what you can and can't handle those first couple weeks in a patrol car and dealing with what we deal with day in and day out. So I think I definitely grew up a lot, and the thing about me and my upbringing is I was raised by a young mother, and because she was so young, she still lived at home with several of my aunts. So I was raised by a wolf pack of women, and that I think definitely made me very strong and independent and confident. I was never told, the thought never crossed my mind that I couldn't do this job. So I was lucky in that, and so that's how I continued throughout my career. No one ever told me I couldn't. I wouldn't have listened anyways. But I just did it.
To kind of piggyback off that, the self-confidence I think is probably, it's huge. And just to, know that we can, even though we're female, we can do it. And I grew up with, my dad he raised my sister and I as really strong women, and he also didn't have any sons to do, so we were raised as the girl and the boy, but he raised us really strong women, and I think that also, went through with throughout growing up and knowing that you can do it. And as long as you just are strong and put your mind to it, any woman can do this job too.
I totally agree with both of you. And there's really not a lot of parts of the job that I had concerns about, going through it and would ever have, whether it be male or female.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we've talked about a lot of the positives I think that females bring to the career. But yeah, I think you guys are right. Like the confidence that you can do this.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody were, again, coming to you maybe as a young female mentor and would ask, like, what's a good career path to get me to where you're at? Or, what's that educational path look like? What are some of your thoughts? So, Mal, you went to a 2-year.
Yep.
Jen, 4-year?
Yes.
And then you were put through by the department, Jen.
Yes.
Did you go through
Mine
on
was
your
the
own?
certification track. So it was all in the 2-year program. So when I graduated, I had all that.
Okay.
Yep.
So have you found any differences between the 2 and the 4-year? Or, in reality, you don't need a full degree to go through the academy. You need 60 college credits. Would you gear somebody towards a certain type of degree? What have you guys found beneficial for you?
I think whatever works for you. You can find, everyone has their own path, their own preferences. I enjoyed the 4-year course, but then I didn't have a lot of that hands-on experience when I was done. So each path has its positives and negatives, right? You might learn a little more, be a little more book smart with the 4-year degree and have a leg up for the physical stuff with the other. So,
yeah, and I agree with all of that. With my 2-year, I had everything incorporated in it. I liked that I could get everything I needed done in 2 years and didn't have to go to a 4-year. So it really is just your preference of what path you want to take.
Good point. It's what you prefer and what you're good at too.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't know, like a lot of us didn't, dip your toe in and see if this particular class excites you or you enjoy it and see what happens.
Because I asked that because I've been asked that a lot of times, kind of being in the recruitment end of things here at the PD. But honestly, getting some education and just finding what you're good at. I would really recommend anybody, if you're not comfortable sitting down and talking with people, that be a focus. I don't think it's one of those things that comes totally natural, to sit down and ask really personal questions of people. So communication, I think, is one of the biggest things that, people have to focus on and learn and be good at. So, yeah. All right, turning the tables. Let's get personal.
Oh boy, here we go.
Yep, we're doing it.
Oh boy.
No. So how have you guys found being an officer has changed your personal life or your path that you've had in your family, kids? Can we talk about personal stuff here?
Yeah. I mean, well, let's be honest. I started, and like I said, I was incredibly naive both to the profession and just the world in general because I was very young. But it has definitely hardened me. My family will tell you that I don't let my emotions show quite as much as I probably did when I was young and dumb. But I definitely have different emotions. My emotions have changed. My reactions are different.
I can relate
just
to
because
that.
you kind of have to rein it in at work, and that carries over into your personal life. So might be a little more, have that flat affect.
Yeah, I've noticed that in just 8 years of just when you are at home or in certain things that happen in the public and other people are maybe more like, oh my goodness, and we're like, oh, we're more used to it because we see it all the time.
I agree with that. Like, we probably don't show our emotions as much just because we can't, and we don't want to take it home. I guess my question, in just for everybody who maybe is thinking about getting into the career, can you have a normal family life and be a woman,
yes.
a woman cop?
Yes, you can. You can.
Absolutely.
You can still have your normal, you can separate it after you're done with work and go home and
There's
have your
always gonna be
family and your
some
kids.
things,
And
but
some stuff will, for sure.
there's, I've had to, on the opposite side of that, I've had to walk out of restaurants and stuff before. So there's that. But your family knows what you do, and they understand. As long as they understand, hey, there's a method to my madness. If I'm saying we need to leave, then we need to leave. Don't ask questions.
Yep.
Just go.
For everybody, like getting married, having kids, having a family, being able to go to events and stuff, you get to do all the normal stuff, right?
Yep.
Our shifts are kind of odd, especially as a patrol officer, but you learn to make it work. You guys all know, especially having kids, where birthdays may not happen on the day of, or Christmas may not happen on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, but you make it work. Have you guys found that like your families were negatively affected, or do you think it has brought some families even closer because you really enjoy that time that you guys get? And I ask that because that's kind of how I feel like our family evolved. With my husband being an officer too, our kids just kind of understood that, and we tried to make the best of it. And I sometimes think that brought us closer as a family.
Yeah, solidified that bond. Yeah, I agree. And sometimes maybe the holidays are more special because you get to celebrate it on a day when nobody else is. And you kind of have your own little holiday. So families definitely adjust, and you just make do with what you can. My son played baseball for many, many years, and I hated the idea of even missing a baseball game, but one or two in there, and they understand. But you get to those most important ones, and you make it happen when you can too.
And what if you want something to work? It's gonna work out, and it's your mindset too. I mean, it just kind of comes with the job. When you sign up for it, you know you're gonna miss some of the stuff, but yeah, your family will know, and even though you can't make it to every single one, you still make it to most.
No regrets?
No regrets.
I agree.
No.
All right. What else should the general public know about us in law enforcement? Females?
I think what maybe is not readily apparent from the outside looking in is that we've got a tremendous amount of support. When we started here, yes, you're working with a bunch of guys, but as long as you just like in any job, right? You prove yourself. Like, hey, I'm here to do the work, and I can do this job. You prove yourself within 6 months or so, before you even get off of field training, and they're so loyal. They will always take care of us. I have no doubt about that. So they will take you under their wing and protect you if that's a concern that you're having. We all get along so great. No one ever treats us differently that I can think of. We're all treated the same, and we get along well, and they take care of us.
And we also take care of them. I also feel like all of us girls here kind of act as the moms to our shifts.
We can be moms for them.
I mean, as weird as it is, because we think of them all as coworkers and all the same respect, but we're kind of moms too in that way, right?
Yeah.
I definitely feel like some of our, just as much as they take care of us and they got our backs, like on the reverse, we have the emotional side sometimes that we take care of for some people.
Yeah.
So let me ask you guys, some of the things that we've talked about, especially hopefully maybe getting younger females interested in this profession, having the confidence that they can do things. I think back to some calls that I've taken throughout the years, and I've been off the road as a patrol officer for a while, but I think almost every call that you go on, you kind of run things through your head before you're going. So I think no matter what you're going on, it might just be a traffic crash where they're blocking a road, or a domestic that you're thinking, okay, I might have more than 2 people fighting here, or there's going to be other people. You just have to mentally prepare yourself. And I think That's part of the profession, female or male, to get yourself into the right mindset. And just know that no matter what the call is, it may be something totally new. It may be something I've never seen before, but step by step, I can get through it. I think that goes for every call, especially as a patrol officer. But Jen's kind of in a unique perspective where being a detective, which Mal and I don't have that perspective. If you can talk about maybe, because you had a really different career path, you got a lot of cases that you were involved in that I think were long cases and took a while to get through and are really pretty cool. Like, you're kind of a rock star, Jen, in some of your cases that you've had. If you don't mind, like, is there stuff that you can explain to us or to anybody else, like what it took to get through that?
Well, great leadership. I was fortunate enough to work with someone or for someone at the time whose job I have now, who guided me a lot along the way and really gave me some good perspective, kind of kept me on my toes. He was always always think worst case scenario, really get your mind going for what kind of path you're going to take next kind of thing. So I definitely learned a lot from him and through his guidance, and just putting yourself out there, thinking about those big interviews that you have and thinking about, again, just like you said, all of the directions that it could go. Okay, if this, then that, if this, then that, and how you're going to process that interview step by step in order for you to get the end goal, which obviously is usually a confession or at least some kind of information about the case that you didn't have before. If you come out knowing more than you did before you went in, that's a win in my book. So definitely those bigger cases where there's a lot on the line going into that interview, those were always so nerve-wracking for me, but just getting in there and doing them really gave you the confidence to do the next one and learn from that. And what are you going to do next time that's better? What could you improve on for the next time? So, yeah, I learned a lot from watching others and then by doing myself.
You mentioned a couple of things just now. We have a really good team here. We have really good support. And I think that goes on, for every call, even just responding to, like, again, a traffic crash where you've got people, hey, do you need help with traffic and blocking the road off and that type of thing. So I think that's a really good thing to talk about is our teamwork here at our department, I think, is great. I think it's probably why we're all still here, right? Because we have a great team. Yeah. But you also mentioned great leadership. And I think our department really stands out in the fact that we've tried to recruit the best people, both male and female. I know right now there's a initiative going out right now, 30 by 30. So 30% of a department by 2030 is, the wish is to have 30. Help me out with the numbers here, because apparently numbers are really hard right now. Well, what am I trying to say?
30% women by
30% female.
Thank you. That's hard to get out. You know where I'm going with that. So I look at our department, and we really, for our size, have a good number of females. But 30% is, I still think, maybe not quite realistic yet.
Yeah, we'd still need a handful.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing is we're just not seeing females applying. So we can't hire them if they're not applying. So how do we get more females to apply? Because it would be awesome to have 30% female staff by 2030. I did at that time. Yes. Any thoughts on recruitment of females?
Oh, boy.
I think it's just sending that message to them, like, you can do this. If we can do it, anybody can do it. You'll be safe. You'll do great. Get in here and give it a try. I mean,
we'll get you through it.
You don't know until you try. So,
as an FTO, and I'm, still part of the FTO program, like, we'll get you through things. We'll teach you how to be an officer.
Yep.
If you have the right character, personality, you have the confidence that you can do this job, like, we'll train you. And I think that's always important is we never let people out of training that we don't think can do the job. You know, we extend trainings, we go through special scenarios and that type of stuff. So we all know that we have confidence in our partners, and I think that's important too. But yeah, we always try to train people too and we don't expect people to come in knowing the job.
You learn it as you start here.
Yeah,
for sure.
So we've talked about a lot of different things, and we all obviously love our careers, right? We love being police officers. I can't imagine doing anything else anymore.
Me neither.
But I look back, and unfortunately, if I could recommend one thing to anybody at the start of their career,
I know
is
what you're
keep
gonna say.
a journal.
Yep, me too.
Because I can't remember all the good, fun, cool things that I've done in 22 years. So one, whoever's listening to this, if you're going to start in law enforcement, like keep a journal.
Yes, write stuff down.
Yeah, but there's some things that just stand out in your mind. I remember a few years back, they were doing construction at actually what's now Athletic Park, like the new Woodchucks area. They were doing construction. And we had gotten a call for somebody, they thought that maybe somebody had broken. So a couple of us officers were over there, and we couldn't figure out how to get in. They had these big construction fences up, and one of the guys, Jenna, one of our smaller female officers, they're like, Jenna, let's lift you up and we'll toss you over the fence, and then you can go check and figure out how to get us in, and we can go see if there's anybody in here. And they're lifting her up, and I see her like getting towards the top of the fence, and I'm like, wait, how is she going to get back out? And we all looked at each other like, oh, none of us thought of that. Jenna, come back down, come back down. And it's just silly things like that. Like, we have a lot of fun in this job, too.
Oh, yeah.
I think back to Jen and I on a call years ago. There was a very angry dog that didn't like us. And Jen ran back to her car, to the safety of her car. And it was chasing me. And I jumped in my trunk. And I'm like, somebody get this dog. Get the dog. Just silly things like that. Like, are the things that right now that I can remember. But, you know, there's bad calls that you try to forget. But then there's so many in-betweens that, do you guys have any? What are some impactful ones maybe? Or if you got another funny one too.
Oh, I'm not sure right now. Like you said, if I don't, even in just the short time I've been here, you forget them until something brings them up.
Yeah.
What about you, Jen?
I always say that this job has, like you said, it's good moments, it's terrible moments, it's in-betweens. But the thing that keeps us going all the time is those great moments that you hang on to for your entire career and work every day to get back to that feeling. But just being involved in some bigger cases and going to jury trial where, you know, everything's on the line, and then getting that guilty verdict at the end of that is one of the most rewarding things that anyone could ever be a part of. But I was also on 2021, so I don't know if you guys have seen the episode.
Oh, wait, what? You were on TV? What?
I got to hang out with Deborah Roberts at the Mint Cafe.
There you go. That's awesome.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So kind of thing I can show my kid and be like, see, Mom does cool stuff, despite what you might think. But definitely that, and I helped find a body in the middle of the Chequamegon National Forest once. That's definitely on the highlight reel.
That was a missing person case for a long time.
Yeah, a long-term missing, yeah. She was missing for about 4 years by the time she was found. So that's certainly a moment I will never, ever forget. And then being the one to tell her mom that we had located her was both rewarding and incredibly difficult all at the same time. So kind of just hanging on to those moments that you work so hard for, that you finally achieve, and then it's like, well, on to the next one.
Yep.
Because there's always more work waiting.
Right.
I think of one I went on. It was a domestic at night. It was just a routine domestic call. that we go on every day, every night. And I went maybe just a little bit of an extra step at the time, which I didn't even think of. It was a female who didn't want to leave the situation because she had a dog. And it's something that we commonly see. It's one of the reasons that you hear of domestic victims not seeking help is because of animals or kids. In this situation, I was able to find a place for the dog to go for a couple days, long enough for her to get out of the situation. And again, to me, I didn't think it was anything more than helping her that night. And it was probably about 5 or 6 years later, ran into her into the grocery store, and she stopped me and she's like, "Hey, do you remember me?" And of course, looked different, had to introduce herself, and like talking to her then, and her actually saying like, that changed my life forever because I could safely leave and get out of a situation that she hadn't been able to. So things like that you definitely tend to remember too. And those are the ones that you're like, they make you feel good.
Yeah, those feel-good moments.
Feel-good moments, which we need and are awesome, and it's why we keep doing this.
And yes, they remind you of why you do this job.
Yeah.
Yep.
On those days that you questioned.
Yep. Yep.
All right, Mal, on the spot. Anything?
I'm trying to think while you guys are talking here. I can't think of anything right now, but I'm sure it'll pop in my mind after we're done with this. And
we'll have to do another one.
I know.
Well, you'll have many more.
Part 2.
Many feel-good moments.
I also have a lot
coming.
less years than you guys.
Yeah.
So
but there's still some out there.
There are.
I mean, you're still here, so you have to be.
I'm doing something right.
Yeah.
We'll keep you around for a little bit.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right. Good.
So what keeps you guys both motivated to continue this career?
Well, it's for me, it's as cheesy as just being able to help people. I love being the voice for the victims and everyone who are on their worst days, to be able to help them work through the process, and helping everybody, and also just the atmosphere of the police department as well. Some of the other women here, they're on my shift as well, and it makes the shifts go good, and you're a great team to all work together, and the friendships that form as well, and we all work together to help everybody in the community, and love helping others.
Yeah, and for me, I think I'm an old dog, as we've discussed. Been around for 23 years, so I've kind of been there, done that. But I'm really looking forward to, in my new role, helping other detectives, investigators kind of reach their full potential and get involved in cool investigations and do cool things so they can have those on their list of why they stick around. So being a part of that and getting to watch that happen from the outside looking in is pretty cool.
That's a really good point to make, too, for anybody thinking about this profession. There's so many things that you can do. We've talked about all the different things that we've done. I never would have thought 20-some years ago I would be in any type of command position. I enjoyed being a patrol officer. I loved every aspect of it. But then you look at, SIU or the drug unit or the community resource unit, and then all the different teams like you discussed, Mel. Like you're on a lot of different teams that you have a lot of contact with victims, and you're able to reach out and talk to people. And that's just, the start. Then you have the detective bureau, and you can focus on so many different types of investigations and stuff. And then the path that I kind of took was more into the command role, which again, I'm not quite sure at how it happened, but I enjoyed my FTO experience and being a part of, I think, mentoring young officers and just helping, not just our community, but our officers kind of find their place too.
Right.
If you ask my husband, he says I'm bossy, but I don't
You just
feel
have
that
better
way.
ideas.
I'm just there. I like that. I have better ideas. I just try to help. That's it.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's so many different things that you can do. That this is a career. It's not, a job. It's not just something that you go to every day. I think it's who you are and what you want to do long term.
Right.
And one of the things you always hear is, once you retire, you're still a cop. You still have that mentality. It's a profession.
It's just in your blood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll never lose that.
So we enjoyed reminiscing. I hope everybody else enjoyed listening to us blabber on. But where do you guys think women in our career are going in the future? Any thoughts that we can pass on?
I think the sky's the limit. I mean, really get in young and early and work your way up, and the sky's the limit for any women, and hopefully a lot more of them feel more comfortable coming to work with us after we had this conversation.
Yeah, I mean, just getting more women and to come join our team and just the success of the police department, I think, is good with both men and women and all of us.
I agreed. And not only young, but people that are doing other things as a career change. This is, I mean, one of the things that we've hired along the last, 5-10 years are people that have changed professions and come here. And I think that's an important thing, not just getting in it early, but you can bring a lot to the table, and you can bring a lot to the department with the other things that you've already done in your life. So, yeah, just something to think about too.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, do you think we bored people enough listening to us?
No.
We had fun.
It's exciting.
Yeah, we had fun.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate you coming in and sitting down and talking. I hope everybody else that was listening got a little insight into us, our department, females in law enforcement. I would encourage any female or potential, any applicant that wanted to maybe look at law enforcement to get a hold of us. We at the Wausau Police Department have always tried to recruit both men and women that are looking at a young age to get in, or like I said, that career change. If anybody ever has questions or thoughts, or they want to come visit or do a ride along, please reach out, right? You guys probably in your time have done ride-alongs with different people.
A handful of them.
Yeah, it's nice to see and really get somebody to know what's going on. And so, yeah. For all of you listening, please get a hold of us if you're interested. Do a ride-along. Come join us.
Come apply.
We're fun.